Any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast.
All right, I think I have got it going. Woohoo! I think I've got it. Yes, indeed. I'm so sorry for the technical glitch. Thank you so much for your patience. Now, where was I? I'm going to pick it up where I left off. Okay, cool. So, thank you for being patient. Now, I've talked about some of the areas where a boundary may be an issue. And I've also suggested having a think about some of the areas where boundaries or having safe and healthy boundaries for you may be an issue. I want to ask you a question. In relation to boundaries, what would you be afraid of, and why would you be afraid to really speak up and be yourself when it comes to relationships with people? And I want you to take a moment to have a think about this. And I'll give you an example that might help sort of stimulate some thought process. Now, some years ago, I was in a situation where, long story short, two people both had some issues and concerns, both were not speaking up, both were doing things that perhaps were not very, very healthy, both were sort of compromising and negotiating on situations that were not perhaps working in harmony in a relationship. Now, what happened in the end as a result by not speaking up and not articulating what was important for those two people? Of course, the relationship folded, disharmony, discord, much angst, and of course, not a reconciliation on an understanding level. How could that have been prevented? It may not have been prevented in terms of the relationship for unfolding in, but what could have been prevented is that if both people were congruent in themselves and really knew who they were able to feel comfortable in themselves to speak up and say, hey, this is not good, I'm not happy with this, can we look at this, can we talk about this, and effect some safe and healthy understandings for that relationship to blossom and flourish. Now, it sounds very, very simple, and it can be simple, but what happens, we have our own agendas, we have our own ambitions, we also have our own fears, we also have misperceptions. I think they're doing this because of that. Well, you may be right and you may not be right. What is really important to understand, the perceptions are not necessarily the reality for that person, but the perceptions are the reality for you. So the question is, really think about that question. What are you afraid of when it comes to relationships with people? And it could be, you might have 10 things in your mind that come up. You may have one thing in your mind, but let's say the top three would be, for example, speaking up, or saying no when you mean yes, or saying yes when you mean no. It's not healthy to give in, say what everyone wants you to be and do. The reality is that we are not meant to agree. We are not meant to have everyone agree with us. And we are not meant to agree with everybody. It is unrealistic and unhealthy to think that we must have absolute happiness, bliss, and joy with everyone in our life. We are also very individual. So that would mean that by definition, we are not going to agree with everybody, and not everybody is going to agree with us. And that's normal, and that is healthy, and that is part of evolving as a person. So two things that you may have identified that for you are very important in your personality and behavior that needs attention. And that's an opportunity for you to really think about, okay, well, these things have bothered me. I'm not really very good at or very strong or assertive. Maybe it's time to look into that. And, there is no judgment here, whether it takes you a week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years. It's not relevant. What's very important is that you continue to work on yourself. And unless you're prepared to face the fear, you're just not going to grow through that experience. So I want you to think about this for a moment. Close your eyes if you want to, or you can keep your eyes open. I find closing my eyes to be more effective. And I want you to imagine yourself in a situation that you may have experienced recently or in the past that was very traumatic for you, was unhappy. It brought disharmony and discord with someone in your life that you valued and loved very much. And I want you to put yourself in that situation, but kind of like looking at through a photo frame, so to speak. And I want you to look at that situation and ask yourself honestly, what was coming up for you when you were in that situation with that person when things were not going well? Did you get angry? Did you get aggressive? Did you become hostile? Did you alienate the person? Did you reject the person? Did you abandon the person? Were you rude to the person? Did you not say what you really felt to that person? Did you walk away from that person? And these are some of the things that we do to ourselves. We think that we're doing it to the other, but we're all connected at some level of energy. So you would have been doing those things to yourself as well. You walk away from something instead of speaking up. Well, you've done that to yourself. You are aggressive to someone instead of being assertive. You've done that to yourself because we're really mirroring things in us that we feel a discord with. So, for example, I had issues with speaking up. So, what do? We become aggressive, we become hostile, and we become volatile because instead of speaking up assertively and healthy, we resort to aggression and hostility and volatility because we don't know how to speak up. And speaking up and asserting your rights and needs and wants is a practiced habit. It just will not happen overnight. It's like brushing your teeth, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which I hope you are doing. It's a habit that must be exercised. There are going to be times when that practice, that exercise will just go fantastic. And there are going to be other times when all hell breaks loose and nothing works. And that's just the flow of life. And you have to ride the valleys and the mountains. So low boundaries is just as dangerous as having too many boundaries or no boundaries. It's a balance. So what are some of the low boundary issues that exist? We attract all sorts of people and situations. I mean, if you're not clear on what you stand for, you'll put up with anything. That's for sure. We remain a victim, stuck and helpless. We give permission for people to hurt and abuse us. We stay stuck in painful and hurtful experiences. Depression can set in, and definitely it does set in because when we're living and existing and reacting from behaviors, conscious or not, that are toxic, unhealthy, and completely abusive to ourselves, we stay stuck in that pain. And depression, isolation, loneliness, rejection, and abandonment, as you know, I've talked about abandonment in my earlier webinar, sets in, and it can become very chronic and very serious. And there are a lot of people out there in situations like that. And hurting people hurt people. Health issues and mental suffering, depression, anxiety, agoraphobia, isolation, loneliness, physical issues, insomnia, sugar cravings. It's just an endless list of things that can happen when we continue to stay in that pattern of behavior. Lack of love, success, and evolution. When we don't love ourselves, when we don't respect and value who we are as a person, we are going to have difficulty expressing our needs and wants to others in a loving and healthy way. And that doesn't mean that you can't love and you're not capable of loving, but it does mean that you're not being congruent to what you value in yourself. I love myself. I love who I am and what I am. I make the most silliest mistakes, but I'm also an intelligent, I'd like to think I'm intelligent, wise, and, amazing person. Do I make mistakes? Every day. Do I try and improve on those mistakes? Every day. Will those mistakes be costly at some point? We did with technology tonight, and hopefully you're still on the webinar. I can't tell because I've moved the panel to the right, but that's just the way it goes. We've got to keep trying. So, do I do the right thing all the time? Do I say the right thing all the time? No, I'd like to think I do my best, but if someone gets offended or doesn't like what I say or do, and providing I'm doing it from a place of love, I can't control what they're going to think and say or do. That's not within my responsibility. We're always in damage control constantly when we have low boundaries. We enforce other people's problems and junk onto us. I cannot emphasize this one enough. In fact, for this one in particular for me was a very chronic issue. Everybody else's problems became my problems. And it's not my responsibility. It's absolutely arrogant and proud of me to think that I could fix everybody else's problems, even though my heart was in the right place. What happens is that we take on their problems, and other people have taken on my problems. It's not their responsibility. You have to cut the cord somewhere and stand on your own 2 feet. Sure, get help, get support, do what you need to do, keep going forward, strive to get out of toxic situations, but eventually you've got to stand on your own 2 feet and not expect others to bail you out or you to bail them out. It's not healthy, and it's really saying, hey, I'm a doormat. You can do anything and say anything to me, and vice versa. That's not love. That's not healthy. And that's certainly going to be a damage control. We cannot sustain long-term wellness when we are not living within our values and our needs and wants and what is important to us. We just will not be healthy, happy people. We're also teaching our brain to react with primitive survival behaviors. Because when we internalize what we are not doing and what we should be doing, we're teaching our brain, we're teaching our entire psyche to react from a survival mechanism, the fight or flight that, as you know, I spoke at in my very first webinar. But setting boundaries is definitely a challenge for some people. It definitely was for me. I have told you the experience, and if you haven't heard my story about how I would almost dribble and had my head down and not be able to speak up or resort to aggression and, a hostile confrontation because I didn't know how to assert myself, which is most amazing because I can stand in front of 150 people and teach a class. I can speak to an audience. But when it comes to my own value system, there I struggled. And I say that so you can get comfort that this is not an isolated incident. We all struggle with setting boundaries. But there is a fear of setting boundaries. And those fears can arise from many different situations, painful, traumatic childhood experiences. Maybe you didn't have childhood experiences were traumatic, but you went through a series of experiences as an adult that left scars on you that have not been healed. Long-term stresses and problems. I can tell you that for me, it took many years to climb out of what I call the pit of hell from the issues and situations of my life. And sadly, some of those problems were not even of my doing. I accepted responsibility for someone else's problems, and the stresses they put on my life were horrific. I'm grateful and so blessed to say that I'm out of them and can look forward to a long, happy, and healthful and successful life. Poor nurturing and toxic environments when we're young. You may not have had good nurturing or good environments when you grow up, and that is unfortunate, and my heart goes out to you. But that doesn't stop you from having a fulfilling and successful life now. Personal wiring, we all have our personalities. Now, I'm a pretty excitable kind of person, but I also have like kind of a 5-year-old. I have a very sort of simple childlike mentality and attitude about things. I don't take myself very seriously. I take my work very seriously, but I know that because I'm wired a certain way, I will have behaviors that are predictable in certain situations. It is my responsibility to be aware of those triggers and those impacts. So, for example, running late. I can't allow people to cause me to run late for my work. I will keep people waiting. People depend on me. That causes anxiety and that causes me stress. And of course, we drive fast and get anxious and we arrive at our appointment in the wrong mind frame and the wrong energy. And that just sets off different domino effects that has unhealthy reactions. So I need to make sure that I say, hey, you know what? I'd love to catch up with you. Can we have this conversation later? Let's have this chat later, or time's up, or whatever it is. So I keep those boundaries in check because people cannot control your time. It is up to you. to manage that time. Just giving you one example, but you may have your own. Stay in drama. Some people like to stay in drama. You know, drama is just one of those things. It's just a poisonous hydra. It really is. It's a seven-headed poisonous snake. Drama, people want to know about drama, be in drama, know about drama. Don't do it. It is toxic at every level. I walk away from drama. Don't want to know about it. If you need help, I will do my best to help you. But if it's drama, you've got the wrong person. There's no drama queen in me, in my life, or around me. I'm very clear on that with people. But if you need help and I can help you, I will do my utmost to help you. But I will not take the drama, because drama does not provide solutions. It does not provide answers. Drama is a merry-go-round where people stay on it. It's a roller coaster of massive highs and lows with damaging effects to both the person and those around them. And physical and mental impairment that keeps you afraid. You know, we may have our own sort of personal inhibitions or personal belief systems that may be now defunct and really may not be real, but we've kept them in our wiring for 10, 15, 20 or 25 or 30 or 40 years, and they may not be true now. Do the check-in. Is that belief system, that trigger, that behavior based on real information and real situations, or is it something that happened to you a long time ago that you're choosing to hang on because it helps keep you stuck where you are instead of facing the fear and dealing with it? So this is a little exercise that I'm going to ask you to participate in. Very simple. And if you don't have a piece of paper, that's cool. Then just put it into your mind and you can write it down when I finish the webinar. I want you to write down 3, not 100, people in your life that you have difficulty communicating with. But I also want you to write down why. And I'd like you to do that now, please. If you don't have pen and paper, that's cool. Just go and grab some now. I'm going to put on a little bit of music, and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. If you don't have paper, that's cool. Just think about it. It may be someone or some people present in your life now. It may be someone from your past. It may be someone at work. It may be family, whatever, whoever. But 3 people that for you feel they're challenging to communicate with. And I'm not saying that they are the challenge or the problem. I'm just simply saying that you find it difficult to communicate with them. And I'd also like you to think about why you think it's difficult to communicate with them. Okay? It may be perception, it may be reality, it may be a mix of both. So why do you think it's difficult communicating with these people? So if you haven't already done so, please write that down. You can use your iPhone or just think about it. You can write it down after. As I said, it could be someone in your life now, someone in your life from past experiences, work, family, social, personal, partners, and why you think it's difficult communicating with them. Cool. If you haven't finished, you just have to do that at the end of the webinar. So boundary setting. Let's ask the question on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your fear and discomfort with these people? So for example, as a personal trainer, I have to confront clients when they're not doing their job, they're not doing the work, they're not eating properly, you know, and they're not getting the results. And, you know, usually there's always reasons why. More often than not, it's because they're not doing their work. They're just not applying 100%. Now, no one likes to be called lazy. No one wants to be told you're not trying hard enough. But I have an obligation, a professional obligation to say, hey, we need to have a conversation and address what you're not doing and why you're not getting results. Now, sometimes in those situations, clients will try and defend it and argue it, and you know they may become defensive and argumentative, of course, because to them I could be attacking them, but I try and be as gentle as I can. But at the end of the day, it's also my responsibility to say, listen, you're just not doing the work, and we need to look at possibilities and find a way to bring you a solution, because you hired me to help you get a result. Now, if they still refuse to do the work to get their result, I have a decision to make to continue working with this person to try and change the situation, find another way to get them the result, or if we're definitely not a match, then okay, we just discontinue our arrangement. Sounds simple. Yeah. What if this particular person is very sensitive, is very fragile, is going through things in their own life? I've got to be even more aware of how they're going to feel and how they're going to react to my information. So confronting now has different implication and a different impact. So even though it's my responsibility to confront them and assert my obligations as a trainer, I need to use different objectives to get that outcome from them. But I definitely have to confront them, because if they don't get the result, they're going to blame me. They're not going to be happy, and it's not going to be a good situation all around. And nobody wins. It's not a win-win. So that's just one example. Another example might be telling your boss that you've got, speaking to your boss about concerns you may have about another employee, or speaking to a friend about an issue that you're having that you find they're not being respectful or loving about. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where is your fear with this particular people? Now, if it's under, a 4 or under a 3, it's perhaps it's not really a big issue for you. But if you're hitting the 7, 8, 9, or 10, or even 12, then it's a concern for you and it needs to be addressed and needs your attention. Now, ask yourself this question. What is the worst thing that can happen if you speak up, if you say what you feel, if you say what you're thinking? What's the very worst scenario that can happen? The world won't come to an end. You will not turn into stone. You will not be kidnapped by aliens. You will not be transported to another planet. They may not like it. Probable. They may get angry. Probable. They may walk away. Probable. They may raise their voice or object, or, that's probable too. But what if they receive your confrontation, receive your assertive discussion, and you can both reconcile and come to a better understanding? Isn't that a win-win? Absolutely. So if these three people for you on a scale of 1 to 10 are above a 7, that means that these people are triggering something in you. They may be doing something that's not healthy, fair enough. But if they're triggering you and they've triggered you time and time again, you have an obligation to yourself to address it, because you do yourself the greatest disharmony of love if you don't address it. And you know what? They may not even be aware they're doing it. It's possible. Some people do things unconsciously, and it's just behavior that they've been doing for many years, and it's not necessarily they're trying to hurt you. They may not realize that that is affecting you. So something to think about for you. Boundaries are limits that a person sets to encourage acceptable behavior from others. These are enforced by consequences for breaching the limits. Now, let's put that in plain NRMA English. I have a boundary. I don't like to be yelled at. And if you yell at me, I have to address that. I'm giving you an example, but I do not like being yelled at. And so if I don't like being yelled at and you yell at me, I've got choices. I can ask you to stop yelling. I can ask you to calm down. If you refuse to calm down or stop yelling, for example, I can say to you, when you're calm, when you're a little bit, you can speak a little bit more calmer, come and talk to me and we can discuss the situation. If they refuse to calm down and stop yelling, I have an obligation to myself to walk away. Now, I may walk away for a day or an hour or whatever the case may be until they come back and we can discuss things calmly and civilly. So that's one example. And there are consequences to those boundaries being broken. So that example with being yelled at, you yell at me, these are the consequences. I will walk away until you can calm down and speak to me in an adult, calm, and thoughtful and considerate manner. And if you choose not to, I choose not to participate in a conversation with you. And if need be, walk away for a while. And if need be, walk away. Because it's not my decision, or it's not my responsibility to change them. It's my responsibility to let them know how their behavior affects me, and I will make the choice what I do with that situation. This is a beautiful little circle that I put here, and if you have a look at the colors, these colors are actually the colors used in the chakra system, the energy system, with purple being the highest, being the crown chakra, and red being the most basic, primal, primitive chakra where people operate from a survival mechanism, the fight or flight, fear, that sort of thing. And you know, red, obviously strangers. We don't know strangers. We're going to have our guard up. Community helpers, people in our environment. Yellow, acquaintances, people that we know. We tend to get a little bit more slack with our boundaries. Greens, the friendships. Anything kind of goes in the beginning because we want them to love us, we want them to accept us. Blue, family. We all put up with things in family that we don't always find pleasant. And purple, which is me. And if we look at that level of color, we all operate at different levels at different times. And again, with boundaries, it's a habit, it's a practiced habit. When I started setting safe and healthy boundaries many years ago, I would say that I really didn't know how to do it. I really didn't understand the process or even understand myself or know myself. But I decided that I deserved to work on me and make me the happiest person I could be. And by me being the happiest person I could be and the healthiest would influence those around me. And if they are matched to my vibration, if they are matched to my personality and my lifestyle and my choices, fantastic. We are connected. And if they're not, that's cool. Walk a different journey. Because if I'm not happy, if I'm not congruent, if I don't stand for my values, who will do that for me? It's nobody else's responsibility to stand for your values. Not your husband, not your wife, not your partner, not your friends, nobody. It's your responsibility to do that. You need to know who you are and what you stand for. And then you can work on you being the happiest and most amazing person that you are and influencing those around you to be likewise. There is a chemical reaction that happens in our brain, and this is a picture of what we call synapses and neurons, all the little sort of red, sparkly, bright things that you see. They're little memories, if you like, little sort of houses. They house memories and feelings of situations and things that we may have experienced, and all those little wavy, nervy things. There are synapses. They all connect to one another, and it's a storehouse of feelings and incidents, situations and memories, and they are present in your brain all the time. And if you listen to my very first webinar on abandonment, I spoke about the amygdala, which stores all those memories. And when we face a situation, it triggers a reaction from us that may be based on defunct behaviors and thought patterns, or maybe be based on information that serves us. And we will react in the negative or in the positive. When we continue to behave in unhealthy ways, we are creating a chemical reaction in our brain, in our wiring, that sets an impulse. And the next time we feel we are in a similar situation, we will react from that experience. Now, if that experience continues to be negative, toxic, unhealthy, we'll just keep repeating the same pattern, the same behavior, and it just becomes worse and worse. It's only through rewiring, reprogramming, creating new ways of behaving that we can change that chemistry, the neuroscience as it's referred to today, to behave in a different way that serves us in a more healthy way. So most definitely, it's not just about learning a habit, it's about rewiring our brain, which is completely possible. Does it take work? Absolutely. Is it fun? No, but the rewards for the long term for you and those in your life are amazing. I have amazing people in my life, and I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed. And I'm so grateful that they're patient with me and understanding, and likewise me for them. So we can grow, evolve, and have an amazing experience for as long as we are together on this earth. A boundary setting exercise that I would like to encourage you to commit to. Very simple. And this is the exercise. Within the next week, practice speaking up what you want and stand firm in your commitment, regardless of the consequences. Do it in love and do it with respect. Now, I'm a massive journaler. I just write and I love to write. Anybody that knows me, I'm a research nerd and junkie. I just constantly in some research link or book or article because I love to know how I can be a better person and do my job better and be an amazing friend, partner, and lover. So I do journal a lot. And if journaling for you is something that you like to do, fantastic, journal away. Maybe just, if journaling is not for you, have a think about, this particular exercise and where you can speak up over the next week. We're not talking about being aggressive, hostile, abusive, or violent emotionally or verbally, but speaking up about what you value and what you stand for regardless of the consequences, doing it with love, respect, and consideration. Yeah? You don't need to swear, you don't need to yell, you don't need to be aggressive or abusive. Just say, hey, you know what? I've been thinking about this. This really bothers me. I'd love to chat with you about it. And please, please, I get the phone, I get the email, I get all of that, but surely the person deserves the respect of your time and energy over a cup of coffee, over a conversation face to face. We live in a very technical world today, as you saw from my first 20 minutes. It's great when it works, but I really appreciate when someone says, you know what, Marie, I've got something that's bothering me, and I really would love to have an hour of your time, have a cup of coffee, treat them to a coffee, and let's talk about it. If, for whatever the reason, that's just not possible, time constraints or whatever, cool. At least have a phone conversation. Don't do it by email. And for the love of God, don't do it by text. That is not respectful. It's not considerate. It's tacky. It's just a coward approach. Be direct. Do it in love. If you can't meet up, at least have a phone conversation. If it gets challenging and difficult, don't hang up. Hang in there. See it through, unless, of course, it becomes abusive and really hostile and intolerable. But at least stick that conversation through so you can come to an understanding and an agreeable resolution. And if you can meet, that's just priority. Meet the person. Many times in my life, I've been very fortunate that if people have met me over a cup of coffee to talk about concerns or dinner, and I've met with people where I've had concerns about different things. Did it all eventuate in the positive? Not always, but I was committed to trying to bring things to a more happy resolution. And it's a responsibility that I took upon myself. We can only be responsible for our choices and actions. We cannot control, dictate, manipulate what others will or won't do or say. It's just not a healthy relationship. It's not a healthy way to have a relationship. Okay, boundary setting. This is a little table that I've done up for you. Very simple, and I'm really happy to send it to you as a Word document so you can have it. And there's four sections there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes across. And the intention of this little exercise is this. For example, I want to stop speaking loudly to people. For example, I'd like to minimize running late. I'd like to keep going to the gym. Do more. I'd like to be grateful for more people and show my appreciation to more people. I'd like to start thanking people on a regular basis, just to give you an idea. Another suggestion would be, for example, I would like to stop rushing conversations. I would like to minimize trying to do three things at once. I would like to keep going with giving quality time to people because that's very important for me. I would like to practice more meditation and I'd like to start tomorrow doing the things that are important for me, such as these examples. So just a little table there that you can improvise on, just to give you an idea. Another example might be for, okay, stop. I would like to stop listening to people's dramas and start sort of containing conversations. Again, it's an example. I would like to minimize, what's another example? Minimize rushing to different appointments. What I'd like to keep doing, I would like to keep telling people in my life that are very important to me. I would like to keep on telling them that I love them. Do more. I would like to make sure that I eat healthy, and I'd like to start all these things by tomorrow. So it's a little table. I've given you a couple of different examples, and you certainly can improvise that. It's very simple. You can keep it in your handbag or in your car or in your gym bag, and do it for a week and see what happens. You certainly deserve it, and it's a positive exercise. It's not a time-consuming exercise. It's very simple and very easy to do. And some boundary setting tips. What are your limits? What are your limits? Do you know what your limits are? I will have to say here, for me, that was a biggie. I had no limits. I would do anything for anybody. I would say yes to everything and everybody. I completely exhausted myself at every level, drained myself, got sick, got tired, frustrated, etc., etc. Cannot be all things to all people. Cannot. We cannot. We cannot. We cannot. We are not designed to be all things to all people. Do you put up with too much when you're tired and you don't want to do things? I've had chronic fatigue syndrome, and I can tell you that that is something that I've got to be very careful with because of my high energy, and I'm a very driven sort of person. I can work until I'm absolutely exhausted. I will forget to eat, and that's not healthy. So, got to be really clear on what your limits are. For example, I do not have contact with clients on a Sunday, not because I don't want to, because I've got to have some private time. Otherwise, my time is just there for everybody. How do I feel? Do we ignore what we feel? Intuition, because we don't trust ourselves. Feelings really, really matter. They're not always accurate, but feelings are there for a reason. So to give you an example, someone at work the other day said something to me, and it was said very unprofessional and very rude. Now, I know this person, they do have some issues and, a little bit of fear going on, but it is my obligation to raise it with them and say, you know what, hey, you spoke to me that way the other day, and I felt this, this, and that. And, it's a responsibility. And as long as I do it in a way that it's loving and considerate, then I can only do that. If they choose not to be pleasant about it, that's cool. It's a process. We escalate it to management. I'm giving you a work-related issue because that, you may experience that at times in the workplace. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Ambiguity, vagueness, procrastinative style conversation. Please, 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 please say what you mean and mean what you say. Do it in love. Do it with respect, do it with dignity and consideration. I'm a very expressive person. I talk a lot with my hands. If you were to see me now, I've got my hands going everywhere. I say what I mean what I say. I do try and do it to the best of my ability, professionally, lovingly, and considerately. But there are times when it just doesn't come out that way. Um, at the end of it, I've got to say what I mean and mean what I say. And if I make a mistake, cool, I can apologize or ask for clarification or, do what I can do to fix up that situation. Do not tiptoe around things. You need to be direct and upfront, okay? Uh, for example, someone says something to you and you don't like the way it was said to you. Um, you know, this is sort of the conversation that I hear people say. Well, I think perhaps that, perhaps you're a little bit too, loud. Not saying you were loud or not saying that you were trying to be rude, but I just felt that maybe you could have said it. No, 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 no. Listen, you said something to me the other day. You said this. I just felt it was a little bit direct and aggressive or loud. I don't know if you're aware of it. Do you remember? I just felt very uncomfortable with the way you spoke to me. That opens a door for them to say, oh, you know what, I'm really sorry, had a bad day, or hey, you know what, I'm really sorry, I didn't even realize it. Bam, situation over and done with. sort it out, forgotten, move on. Not always easy, not always achievable in a perfect world, but definitely doable. Where were you and where are you now? I know it sounds confusing, but past traumas leave scars. Are they affecting your present? Do you need to get some support? Do you need to get some guidance and some help? It is an excuse for an adult to use past experiences, traumas, situations to not grow, evolve, and heal in their life. I'm not saying that if you are going through things and they're causing you disharmony or concern or challenging, situations to deal with, but you are trying to do the very best. What I'm suggesting here is that if you do not do something about the things that you've experienced in your life and they stay dormant and toxic, you're allowing those situations to control and run your life and by default affect those around you. So you may not know what it is, you may not know how it is affecting you, but you know that this stuff that's running at a deeper level, you owe it to yourself to investigate what that is and how that's impacting you in your life now so that you can heal from it and have a great and amazing life. Do you need to get some support, guidance in those situations? If that's what you need to do, that's cool. Um, Trusted friend, trusted professional, they're out there. You may need to obviously see different people to get that sort of support, but you do owe it to yourself to look at inner child wounds so you can have an amazing and successful life. Little to big. Start with small objectives and build on the foundation. You cannot tackle everything overnight. Trust me, I've tried. I'm Miss Project. I'm the project queen extraordinaire. I love projects. Give me a project and I'll dissect it. I will build on it. I will layer it. I will get a process manual for it. I will get you the result and I will find a way to do it. And then I have completely exhausted myself because I'm trying to run the world. Start on small things. Start with what you can do and build on that foundation. You will grow, you will heal, you will evolve if you continue to work on yourself. As I said, I have no trouble standing in front of 150, 200, 300 people and speaking to them, but confronting situations that are sensitive and emotional, well, they cause me great anxiety. And that was an issue that I had to address because that was based on experiences from childhood wounds that had not been healed. Thank God there is a way and there are resources available to us for us to get healing in these areas. Setting boundaries is so very important. Boundaries reminders. Boundary reminders, they mark a limit for you. It's your personal dignity. It's a defensive, protective mechanism against harm. Boundaries are about self-love, not fear. And I've made that bigger because it's very important. Boundaries are about self-love. It's about loving you and honoring you. You do not need to defend, explain yourself. I don't owe people explanations about my choices. If they want to know why I do something, sure, I'm happy to give them information and give them insight into my choices and reasons, but I don't need to explain why I do it. It's none of their business. I do not allow others to decide for me and dictate my life. Sure, working with people and we have to compromise and negotiate, but I do not owe people explanations. I'm a big girl, I'm an adult, and I owe it to myself to know that it is my right to make decisions and choices. Yeah? Healthy self-care is healthy boundary practice. Look after yourself. Eat well, sleep well, exercise, take vitamins, get fresh air, relax, have social time, get involved with people, connect, be involved in the community. It is very important for your mental and emotional well-being. Remember, your needs and wants are important. They certainly are. I am so grateful for the people in my life that were so patient with me many years ago. I did not know how to speak up and say what my needs and wants were. I didn't feel they were important. I didn't feel they were necessary. but they are definitely important. Your needs and wants are important. And we're not talking about, you know, whether you like to go to this gym or that exercise class or this restaurant or that restaurant. They're all things that, yeah, you can work out pretty easy. But needs and wants are very, very important. So, for example, for me, I value being around people that are healthy and like-minded. It's an important part of my life on a personal and professional level. Now, if there are people in situations that I connect with that we are not a match, they may be involved with things that are just not agreeable to my personal choices. That's their choice. I don't need to be involved with them. I don't need to participate in with them. If they ask them, I can say thank you, but that's not for me because my need and my want will be different to what they have. But if there's a match and or there's something that I don't mind, doing with someone, although it's not particularly my preference, cool, because I will hopefully expect that that person will reciprocate the same for me. Boundary reminders. Healthy boundaries exist in the now. Boundaries exist today, now. Not what happened to you 10, 15, 20 years ago or in the future. You live in the present. What happened may have happened. You may not have had good, safe, and healthy boundaries. Okay. And as I've explained and shared with you tonight, that it is possible to rewire and recreate your life where you do have safe and healthy boundaries. Boundaries are important and they need to be relevant and appropriate, not, you know, ridiculous, unrealistic, high expectation boundaries. You know, expecting people to do everything and be everything for you. For example, that's not appropriate or relevant, but definitely they need to be relevant. For example, I do not drink very much. I just don't tolerate it very well. For my body just doesn't accept much alcohol. And if I'm with people that do go to the extreme, intoxicated and so forth, and become quite unhealthy and dangerous, that's just not a boundary that I will negotiate with. It's just not an environment I will be in. And I'm giving you an example because this is a relative situation out there. Now, if that's what they want to do, choose to do, that's really cool. I will love them and respect them and they've got their choice. It's just not my boundary. It's just not my value system. So, and for that matter, I mean, I wouldn't be great company to them anyway. I'd probably be very boring because I don't drink very much, so I couldn't participate in the kind of energy that they would be. So I just don't engage in that environment. It's just not my value system. They protect my rights. They need to also be flexible and real. So what I mean by that is that, hey, you may not like a particular movie, but hey, your friend does. You'll see it with her one day or him or whatever, and you hope and expect that they will reciprocate. But, demanding your way all the time or demanding their way all the time, that's not real. That's not flexible. You need to be a little bit negotiable on those boundaries, soft boundaries, not obviously the black and white things like, for example, that I've expressed to you about alcohol. They need to be receptive. You need to express those boundaries. Don't just think people can read your mind. They need to be determined by us and our choices. Choices are very important. What do you value? What do you want? What is important to you and what is not? They need to be expressed in love and without aggression. And again, just to reiterate that I did not know how to exercise loving confrontation when expressing a boundary that was important for me. And yes, I had people who deliberately or antagonistically tried to sabotage those boundaries because I did not know who I was. You need to know who you are so you stand firm on your boundaries in love, with sincerity, and with consideration. You must have no agendas with those boundaries, okay? Because that then is not a boundary, that is manipulation, and we do not want to resort to manipulation when in relationships. Eventually, it will cause damage, and that's not what you want. You need to love yourself and value who you are as the amazing person that you are. It's a bit girly, that picture, but it's true. We really need to value the amazing divine person that we are. We all have gifts and talents to offer people in our life. I mean, I love to talk to people. I love to help people. I love to help people through healing and different things in their life. But you get me to cook, that's just not going to be me. I love to cook. I love to eat. So I know that someone else, I'm happy for someone else to do the cooking. Or, for example, um, I need to love you in what I am. And I'm not going to be everything to everybody. I'm not going to try and be the greatest cook, speaker, coach, trainer, um, friend, lover, partner. It's just not possible, not realistic. But I will be the best that I can be of me. So cooking's just not my greatest thing, but hey, I do the best that I can. But I'm a fantastic friend. I love supporting people. I love being there with people. And I love being a great coach to people and helping them through their journeys. That is not only a passion, but it's a personal joy for me. So I do that well. I work what I do well, and I don't worry about the rest. Okay? And ask yourself this: do you enjoy being treated abusively in a toxic and destructive and manipulative situation from people that have agendas and do not respect you as a person? Of course, the answer would be no. Or do you want to be a person that has personal integrity, stands for their beliefs and choices, lives by an honest and genuine congruity that aligns with their values and intentions? Well, of course you do. You most definitely want to be the person in the second paragraph. It takes your commitment, your dedication, and standing up for yourself, regardless of the consequences. As I said, you're not responsible for deciding how people will behave and what people will say or do. So hopefully you get all of this, and hopefully that you have forgiven me for the technical glitch earlier on. I guess the question that people ask me as a coach is this: okay, so I get it. This is really important, but what's next? It's a decision time for you. And only you have the power to change yourself and the situations and what you will and what you won't put up with. My life was not always an example of someone living with safe boundaries because of my past. It really caused catastrophes and very damaging and hurtful experiences. And unfortunately, not all of those bridges have been healed. Uh, and, that's just consequences of things when we don't live with our congruity. And, people have hurt me as well, and I've had to walk away from people. And they're the consequences. And we want to evolve into being an authentic, congruent, and honest person that will speak up from a place of love, not a place of fear, manipulation, or with an agenda or duplicity. And being honest, speak up, because yes, honesty is the best policy, but really you owe it to yourself and the person. No, I stand for my self-worth. I stand for my self-love. And I believe I'm the very best person for me to guard my heart, my soul, and my body. If you love someone, speak up. The three people in the previous exercise that I gave to you, I hope that from this information that they have triggered perhaps in you a curiosity to connect with them and speak to them about whatever concern you may have. And again, they may not even be aware that they're hurting you or doing things that bother you. And if they are, you need to speak up and address it. And if they matter to you, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to them to speak up. I want to thank you very much for being with me tonight through this webinar. And I also want to thank and acknowledge the nurturing art that I've put on this presentation, unknown artists from all the pictures, Zena the Warrior Princess, myself, my audience, my amazing mentors and friends, my daughter who absolutely believes in me 1,000%, and Dr. Maslow, Hierarchy of Needs. So I guess the question for you now is, what are you waiting for? You really do hold the key to your freedom. Making the decision to grow and evolve from where you are, you may need to connect to a trusted person, a professional, or a therapist. And that may be a place for you to start. And that's cool. That's a great place to be. I have mentors and coaches in my life, and I've chosen them because they get me. They really want to see me succeed. They want me to be a person that grows and lives in abundance and success and influences those people in my work. It's not about giant leaps and bounds. It's really about decoding what's happening, excuse me, at a subconscious level and really understanding so you can get free from it. Remember, if you've survived this far, you've managed to function. So it served you a purpose. And now it's time to use those experience to help you be an even more successful person. Contact details there on the screen for me if you would like to connect with me. My phone number, email, website, which is going to be changed. All websites go through modifications. Mine is no different. And my Facebook address. I do invite anyone who is very serious about making the decision to change their life to email me, call me to have a free discussion about where to from here. And of course, if you have any questions, I love questions. I love questions. Again, my contact details if you didn't see them before. And if you would like more resources and information about the material that I've presented tonight, please let me know. I've got oodles and oodles of stuff that I can always send you. And do invite your friends and associates to the webinar because we could all use support, encouragement, and love. That's me. I'm going to have a different photo next week. I'm going to get my hair done tomorrow. So excited about that. I love hair. I love being pampered. I'm a real pampering kind of chick. I love being pampered. And I do offer a complimentary strategy session for everyone who is on the webinar tonight. And that's a picture of me standing by the Eiffel Tower in Paris. That was a dream come true for me. I went to Europe a couple of years ago and I took a picture of the Eiffel Tower. It really is an amazing place. And I had no idea. I just got off the plane. It was about 30 something degrees, absolutely hot, but I was determined to see the Eiffel Tower before I left Paris. Life-changing strategy with me. Some of the things we can discuss, breaking mental blocks, creating a strong mind and body, strategies to help you get where you want to go, lifestyle, mentoring, career, and a healthy mind and body. It's about personalizing what you need to help you get to where you want to get to. Next week's subject is on rejection. I really want to encourage you to connect with this one. It's a massive, massive subject, and I know I will not be able to do it justice in 1 hour. I'm really going to try hard to break it down. It's a massive subject, and I think it's just a very important subject. So next week's subject is on rejection. Thank you so much for being with me tonight and sharing your energy. I hope that you have got information out of this that you have been able to use and apply on a practical level. I wish you an amazing evening, and if you have any questions or there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. I'm here to support and help you. Namaste, and as we say in Madrid, buenas noches.